What's up, and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today we're bringing it back to our Star Trek Rewatch Marathon with the second film in the franchise, still with the original series cast. It's Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Now, when people reference the top, 3 films in any given Star Trek film, this is usually up there, if not at the top for a lot of people, and as many people would like to point out, it's the main inspiration for Star Trek Into Darkness, which can almost be seen as a remake of the same story. I'll tell you that my original time watching this film, I liked it quite a bit, but I didn't fully understand why people thought it to be the best. Now that I've rewatched it, I suddenly do see the appeal. The dynamism of the series begins here. Let's get crackin'. This review is brought to you by the word of the day, dynamism. The quality of being characterized by vigorous activity and progress. Star Trek The Wrath of Khan takes Admiral James D. Kirk back to the USS Enterprise on a training mission for a new crew when he discovers an emergency is afoot when an old foe by the name of Khan is back with vengeance in his heart and death at his wake. He not only wants to kill Kirk, but he also wants the location of a mysterious Project Genesis, which is hidden away and only Kirk knows where to find it. You know what? This movie's kind of crazy. I mean, sure, some elements here and there are aged, like the fact that I feel like Khan himself would probably seem more crazy in the 80s than nowadays, but if you view his character like an alien in a fantasy series like the rest of Star Trek, I don't think you'll have that big of a problem, to be honest. And I think the biggest contributing reason is because of the absolute dread that everybody feels when they mention him. It's like an overwhelming force weighing them down because he is incredibly smart, because he is unwaveringly evil, because of the violence that he takes wherever he goes. It might not be as insane as today as it was in 1982. I mean, I can only imagine the faces people had back then when he forced mind-controlling slugs in crew members' ears, but I think a lot of what makes Khan so impressive as a villain still stands true to this day, which is why they felt the need to reintroduce his character in the Kelvin Timeline series. He is easily one of Star Trek's biggest bads, and he is hard to forget simply because of the tension and possible implications that he brings to the series. It makes me wonder what kind of role he had in the actual show, because I'm completely blind to his true origins. This is more or less a sequel to that story, and I know nothing about the actual series other than what they say in the movie itself. So that can sometimes be a problem, right? Especially for these earlier Star Trek films where they basically expect the viewer to already be a fan of the series rather than to try to lure new people in. They often allude to things that already happened almost 3 decades ago that the audience has no idea about. So, no, not only Khan, but Dr. Carol Marcus, who I'm not sure if she was in the series or not, but they act like she was, since there was history between her and Kirk that I feel like the audience is expected to understand since there's not much exposition about it. That's actually my main complaint about the film series as a whole. Those earlier films shouldn't have ever done that. Decades have passed. Decades! You need to reintroduce characters and stories that make sense for a modern audience. They do try to skim through who Khan is, but honestly I'm still unclear because it wasn't enough. Now the main complaint that I have about this movie specifically has to be Khan's motivations. Revenge I understand, but they also have him going after the Genesis device, and they never once explain why. They essentially just have a MacGuffin in there for no reason. Again, maybe it has something to do with something that happened in the TV series, maybe not, but whatever the case, it isn't explained and detracts from the primary story about revenge. The Genesis device mostly comes into play in a later film, and they do a decent job introducing it here, but by using it as a plot device seemed silly to me, especially because they didn't explain why it was so important to Khan. The biggest thing about this movie is the tension that Khan brings and the implications of what he can do. They take some pretty bold, risky, heavy steps in this film that, if you saw it for the first time, especially in 1982, it would probably blow your minds as to how they did it, or did that, or why. That's part of why this film is so good. Tension and risks. That, combined with one of Star Trek's most memorable villains, really does make for a fantastic film, and one that won't be forgotten very soon. Let's take a look at the final score. This is one of those rare cases where my bias agrees with my unbiased, because this film was equal in its technical marvels as well as its elements of excitement and tension. So at the end of the day, my unbiased and biased scores both are found at 88%, averaging them out, of course, to the final score of 88%. 88 out of 100 possible stars. That's a letter grade of B+, for those of you bad at math. It's incredibly decent, especially when you compare it to the first film, which honestly, I find to be a drowsy film most of the time. Just like Star Wars, the follow-up to that movie was just much better. But do you agree? Let me know in the comments down below what you thought about The Wrath of Khan. Is it really as good as people say, or is it something that you find to be overhyped? Let me know. As for YouTube, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button if you like this review, because there's more like it coming out. Hit the thumbs up button, because that always helps out my channel. And don't forget about the little bell icon, because that'll help notify you when I come out with the next review. And until then, peace out!